Every single Wednesday I go to the shop, spend more than I should on comics. I buy my home and a can of pop. It's Wednesday, I wanna go to the shop, even if it hurts my wallet.
Full episode of the Full List Podcast. I think the last time that we recorded, it was like a year ago, but that's okay. I'm your host Kendall. With me as always is Jared.
Hey, stranger. How are we
So
doing?
I'm doing all right. We're gonna talk about Deadpool and Wolverine eventually, and but first let's talk some comics. So what have you been reading in the last the last 12 months?
Well, honestly, I've cut back on a lot of stuff that I was reading before because, the Krakoa or the Age of Krakoa or Krakoan Age. I was reading a lot of X books, and I have read the first X-Men of the new one, but I ended up dropping off a lot of them before the whole end of Krakoa thing happened. And kind of replaced all of those with the Energon universe books. So Transformers, G.I. Joe. Let's see. I've done some of the I did Duke. I think I got the first Destro. Well, I didn't get the first Destro, but I got the first Cobra Commander, and I did pick up Scarlet's which has been really good. So I've been enjoying all that. I've been now because I know it's all been on Hoopla, so I'm like, I think I want to kind of want to collect the first maybe couple arcs, and then I might just start reading it digitally from there. But Transformers has been excellent. GI Joe's been a little bit weird, but I haven't been like super up on the GI Joe history prior to it coming back up, and I know it's pretty much been just a continuation of the prior GI Joe story. So either way, I've been enjoying all of it. I like GI Joe stuff, and there's just a lot of ninjas. We in the GI Joe universe, and actually that Scarlet. I think I've read the first two. I don't know if thirds came out yet, but it definitely reminds me of a bunch of like Black Widow type of story. But it's been entertaining. I've liked all that stuff, and then reading Batman. And let's see, Absolute Power. I picked up the first one of those just because I had a Batman tie-in for the last one. So I'm like, and I've did a little bit of reading into it. So Absolute Power has been kind of interesting so far. I'm really interested to see about the DC Ultimate Universe that's coming out. We can even talk about that later, but that looks like a lot of fun. But I've also been reading Ultimate Black Panther, Ultimate Spider-Man, and Ultimates, and all of those have been excellent too.
So we're on. It sounds like we're on the same page with a lot of this stuff.
Good.
So I have been putting my money where my mouth is and giving the new X books a shot. But yeah, the Energon universe for a lot of this has been like the the most exciting thing. It has been the most exciting thing since in comics in a while. I always love when established licensed properties sort of when they get the opportunity to put A-listers on there. So like with with the Marvel Star Wars, when Jason Aaron and everybody launched the Marvel Star Wars line, and even since then with a lot of the Star Wars stuff, and then Jason Aaron's Ninja Turtles, which we just had the first issue of, which was phenomenal.
I haven't read that yet. I was actually getting ready to crack it before you texted me because I'm like, maybe I can squeeze one more in. But no, I'm glad to hear that.
It's great. Like, yeah, I'm very particular with my Ninja Turtles. I don't generally read the comics, but I've read The Last Ronin and the sequel to The Last Ronin, and then I read this, and it's like, when they're good, Ninja Turtles comics are really good.
Yeah, I've been enjoying those too. That's another thing too. I've been kind of following the Turtles, The Last Ronin, and all the other ones kind of post Last Ronin too. And yeah, they've all been. And the nice thing too is that they're coming out and they're like little mini books, so there's plenty of content there. Yeah, so far, and that's like I said, I actually read Ultimate Spider-Man. I ended up picking up the books yesterday and just didn't have a chance to get through a bunch of them. But also the Sacrificers, that's another one that I've been reading from Image that I've really been enjoying a lot too.
Yeah, the ultimate this new Ultimate Universe is really interesting to me. I had kind of shied away from it because of it being Hickman. Um, but then I heard that I heard good things about Ultimate Spider-Man and that he's like middle aged and his back hurts and stuff. And I was like, my back hurts too. Um, so
Finally, a superhero I can relate to.
yeah, I've really enjoyed the Ultimate Spider-Man, and then I on a whim, I think it was like a light week or something, I picked up Ultimates and I've really enjoyed it. So now I have to figure out if I need to go back and read the Ultimate Invasion stuff and the other, the other stuff
It was good.
that was coming up
Boy,
before.
I started reading a little bit of the Ultimate end of the Ultimate Universe, or I think whatever the main Ultimates line from before, and kind of leading into the Maker stuff, and it's like, oh, yeah, it's just kind of a breath of fresh air. It's been nice, and
One
Black
of these
Panther's actually been excellent too.
one of these days I'm gonna read all of the Ultimate Fantastic Four stuff so that I can get the real history with the Maker, because I think that's a really he's a really neat character, and it's neat that he has sort of stuck around. And yeah, so I'm looking. Eventually, I'll get around to that.
Yeah, they're fun. Yeah,
Look
it
at
was
my
definitely kind of. I think I did that on. I ended up getting rid of Unlimited. Like I said, my kid is like totally annexed my tablet, and I seriously just need to get a new one just so I don't read them on the computer screen. Not like that would be bad, but um, yeah, I think I went through and just read all the, at least like the main title, just to kind of lead up to get to understand the Maker with the city that he had, and then um, leading all into everything. But yeah, just the idea that Tony Stark is kind of going back and trying to right the wrongs of the Maker and kind of taking away those canon or those superhero you know instances. So it's kind of funny that he's bringing them a spider, like, here, bite you if you want these powers, and it's like this
I
weird
really
dude just
liked
dropped off a.
I really liked in Ultimates that like he did that with a bunch of characters and it did not work with a lot of them.
Yeah. Now, are you current with Spider-Man, or are you reading Ultimate Spider-Man?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It just had the. Yeah. I really like what they've done with Uncle Ben. I think that's interesting, seeing kind of having him partner with Jonah Jameson and being like journalists and whatnot is pretty cool.
They're starting Vice. I think that's how they get Vice Media into the Marvel universes.
Something like that.
Uncle Ben's going to start taking a bunch of drugs and just creating blogs about it.
And then I think Harry Osborn's interesting.
Well, the whole suit dynamic where it's like the AI voice, and like I definitely like that, how that's kind of setting up for
why on
like
earth would Harry
Psychosis probably.
Osborn decide for his voice that's constantly in his head to be his father berating him? Like,
Well, like, yeah, the couple panels up and like, you know what, we're just gonna have to do a hard reboot. I can't take the criticism. Like, my self-esteem is plummeting. Like, we're gonna have to pick somebody else. Mrs. Minutes or Miss Minutes. Howdy, guy. Peter's whooping your ass.
yeah.
Time to get to it. Like, oh, I know where that's going.
Let's see. So what else have I been reading? So yeah, I picked up Ms. Marvel when she was the New Mutant. And because Ms. Marvel is like a favorite character of mine, but that like for some reason I hadn't read a lot of her solo stuff. The NYX book has it's sort of setting itself up to be a team book of young mutants like in college in New York kind of thing. And first issue was really strong. she meets up with one of the cuckoos, and
Oh, okay.
they go to a history of Krakoa class, which seems very, very quick, but also like totally the kind of thing that would happen in a college. And and then yeah, some stuff happens, and they go to a club and get in a fight with anti-mutant influencers, and Ms. Marvel just does a number of things in the issue that are like super that are just like great and like perfectly on. You know, at one point the cuckoo girl is like stay cool, and she's like, there's one thing you got to know about me. I'm never cool. And then she like, goes superheroes out. Um X-23 is going to be featured in the book as well, and she kind of shows up in this issue, but it was just like yeah, really solid, which was very different from my experience reading the first issue of the new X-Force. I read it and
Yeah, I just had to pass on that.
I was like, yeah, this is just, I mean, maybe I'll follow it in Unlimited or something if I, because I like what they're doing with the X-Men in general right now, but like it's one of those things where it's like you read a bad comic and then you read a good comic and you're like, oh, that's the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always fun.
Um
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't pick it up. I was like even kind of light this week. I'm like, oh. And they did throw X-Men #1 the last time I was in there. I'm like, yeah, I guess we'll give that a try.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it as well. I need to add it to my subscriptions. I actually don't remember what happened in that issue, but I do remember liking it.
Yeah, they have like their own base. I can't remember. Yeah, it's definitely
Oh, they're
Cyclops heavy. I
in
like
they're
the new design.
that's right. They're in the Alaskan city that was building
Yeah.
Sentinels.
Oh, and I also picked up Namor 1 last time I was in there, or the time before last, and that's Jason Aaron, and that was excellent
Okay.
first issue. I was really impressed. That's when I'm like, yep, that's gonna be added. It's like Jason Aaron season. He's coming out with everything now, and like I love it.
Yeah. Did you read this was a few months ago, but since we've
What, Batman Offworld? Is that what you're saying?
Batman Offworld was great. I was going to ask
Yeah, it
about
was fun too.
the other book, the Scrooge book.
Oh no, I wanted to. I think they were out. Yeah, I wanted to go back and pick. I think I told him to grab me like a second printing or order me one when he gets a chance. But I love me some Ducktales.
Yeah, it didn't quite do it for me. Like
Yeah.
it was I don't want to like badmouth it because it probably wasn't really for me, but yeah, it didn't really
Scratch
do
the
it for
itch.
me. Yeah.
Let's always have some of those. I don't know, kind of going into some of those old childhood properties. I'm like, oh, this will be nostalgic and fun. And it's like, I ended up reading the first issue of Thundercats, and that was Declan Shavely. And I had totally forgot that like Lino goes through like advanced aging when they escape the planet, and he's still like a 8-year-old kid trying to lead the team. I'm like, I totally forgot about that, and it makes it really really weird.
Let's see. Gotham by Gaslight. Have you been reading that?
No, I am not.
So this is a sequel to the original Gotham by Gaslight. It's Batman Gotham by Gaslight: The Kryptonian Age. It's been pretty good. The first issue seemed like they were setting up a pretty straightforward story, and then the second issue they introduced like a bunch of people. So we'll see if it ends up being one of those Elseworld stories where you just checklist. It's like, oh, that's this version of this character and that's this version of this character, or if it'll have some depth to it. Incredible Hulk. I'm kind of ready to drop off of it. Like I want to finish the story. I mean, it's not bad. It's just like
I've been trade reading it, but
I only need so much Incredible Hulk. I've been reading
it's all seemed kind of similar to all the other monster stuff that's been going on since Ewing took over.
I've been reading the Spider-Man 2099, the symbiote Spider-Man 2099. I think it wrapped up, but better than these last two Spider-Man 2099 miniseries are better than what was coming before. They're more
That's good.
possible to have any idea what's going on. Like, you still have to kind of go with some of the continuity stuff, but when they have the high concept, they're definitely written for people who haven't been reading it forever. Because I kind of come in and out on Spider-Man 2099 because he's a character that I really like, and I really want to be able to say, like, this is the great run, but there hasn't been a great run at this point.
Kind of hard to believe that Marvel hasn't at least gotten one other character popular out of 2099, at least enough to
Well,
bring back.
they had that Doom 2099 crossover event a few years ago that was halfway decent, and then right now there's an Annihilation 2099 story that I'm not reading. I think it's a weekly event, so I skipped it. But yeah, you are right. He's one of those characters that, like, just like with the Noir line that they had 10 years ago, like Spider-Man Noir stuck. Enough people will buy anything Spider-Man that you can you can do a lot of stuff. A lot of those,
Yeah.
it's same thing. Spider-Girl is the only one from her universe that anybody cares about, and yeah, Spider-Man Noir has his own is in the movies and everything.
Oh, what was that DC medieval book that Tom Taylor wrote? I think it's probably been a couple of years now, but that was really good. I like some of their.
Well, there's a follow-up miniseries to that coming out as well, isn't there?
Yeah, I saw that. I think that looks sounds exciting. I'll probably pick that up.
I got it mixed up with because it's called Dark Knights of Steel, I think, and I got
Yeah,
it
that's
mixed
right.
up with the
Yeah.
heavy metal.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
From Scott Snyder, because I did not like the heavy metal stuff, so I didn't touch
What
that.
was that one? Was it called Once and Again, maybe? Or I can't remember which. Never mind.
So elephant in the room. We've been going for a little while now. We covered our comic books. Comics. There's some good stuff out right now. Go read comics. Blah blah blah. Oh,
Yeah,
I
definitely a
did
lot of
want to
good
throw
stuff.
out. I've been listening to the podcast The Adventure Zone.
Oh yeah, what's that
Which
about?
is it's the only, and I never listen to this kind of podcast. It's an actual play podcast, so they play D&D, and
Oh, okay, that sounds like fun.
they have comic book adaptations of their D&D campaign, New York Times bestsellers and all that, and the sixth volume just came out, so I started reading the first volume, and they released them as graphic novels, and pretty good. Definitely worth checking
Yeah.
out.
Oh,
The humor is great,
okay, cool.
and yeah, so that's fun. And then I just started reading. It's called Youth Group. It's a graphic novel from another podcaster, Jordan Morris, uh, who's like in that famous podcaster world of MaximumFun.org. Uh, and it takes place in the 90s. It's about like church kids, like literally like a youth group, like praise and worship and
Well,
all
I saw
that.
you post a picture.
Yeah.
And when I saw the Jars of Clay reference, I kept I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, Flood was my jam for a while there. I loved it when that came on the radio. Like I remember like taping it, like "Here Comes Flood" by Jars of Clay, and like click.
Yes. They but it is.
So I went through that phase
So
too.
it's that setting, but they're fighting demons. In a and it's got sort of a Buffy thing. Yes, the joke was they're in the car with the the new person who's like your point of view character, and she's like, do we have to listen to this music? And yeah, and she's kind of an alternative chick, and the blonde head of the youth group lady is like, you don't like Jars of Clay? I thought you liked heavy metal. I thought you would like heavy metal. Which Jars of Clay is a praise and worship band from the late 90s, early 2000s.
It's so funny when that popped up on our local pop radio or popular station. That was
I
was like, yeah, that's the only song I remember hearing about.
I will say that I went to a lot of those concerts of those bands, and a lot of times what they played live didn't sound anything like what they played on the records. It was much heavier, much closer to what I would call metal. Still maybe not quite, but it didn't. I remember there was one of it may have been Jars of Clay. There was one of them that like we specifically bought the album because the concert was so good, and then the album was terrible because it was like so watered down. But anyway,
the
that's
Toad, the Wet Sprocket of Christian radio.
right. I mean, look, that was, a lot of us went through that. You know, like you said, you know.
No, that's interesting. It's funny, yeah, because I mean, yeah, I remember. Yeah, I was actually, yeah. No, I won't
And I
go into
think
old church group
I
memories,
think
but
that also like I think a lot of us have either trauma or like it's awkward to talk about because it wasn't cool, or it's like it's awkward to talk about because like we have family members or whatever who are still in that world, you know, and it's like I can't really talk about how I'm not in that world anymore. But yeah, it's they you can it was one of those things like at first I started reading it and it was like they, you know, she goes to the thing and they're playing like you know, pop music that has like Jesus inserted into some of the chorus lines and stuff, which is I'm not saying that didn't happen at that time, but it was like that's the kind of thing that somebody would notice that maybe was not from that world. But then they made the Jars of Clay reference, and I was like, okay, this person has been there, you know, and um
yeah, I mean, I've had some songs that I've listened to that like I'm like, oh, this doesn't sound bad. Then I go back and I'm like, let's listen to the lyrics. And I'm like, ooh. All right, we're talking about forgiveness. Like that pops up a bunch, and what I mean, I remember getting books, like going to a Christian bookstore and like trying to get like Christian adventure books, and like I think mowing down a couple of those books in a weekend and getting really excited about stuff. And then puberty hitting, and then like, hey, that's where all the girls are at, youth group, let's go, and confirmation. Yeah, that's funny.
the other moment that that I thought was that I thought was pretty good was your point of view character like stumbles in on this exorcism, and they like they tie her up, you know, to explain what's going on, and she says something along the lines of like, is this some weird intense role-playing game, like can we just play D&D instead?
Yes. I actually kind of went to one of those churches as a high schooler. One of my buddies, I didn't realize, he's like, it's one of those worship churches, and they started speaking tongues. So we had like youth group was after the the initial. So that was, it sounds like it kind of like the introduction to that book.
Something like that. Anyway, but yeah, enjoying it so far. And it's
Good.
and it's
Yeah, I saw that. I meant to check it out.
outside of the normal whatever. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk Deadpool. So I have been inundated with posts on Threads because I'm not on Twitter anymore. So I'm on Threads, and what happens with Threads algorithms is if you comment on like one post of one person asking a question, everyone else on the internet who ever asks that question shows up in your feed. So I probably had 45 posts that I saw of people asking me what movies they needed to watch before watching Deadpool and Wolverine. But and various other, and then all week I've just been inundated with all sorts of bad takes on Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm not like,
oh no, same here. I was on TikTok and I liked one video that showed spoilers because I've been avoiding it. The next thing you know, it's just reel after reel after reel of the Deadpool Corp and all this, all the others.
But yeah, algorithms are weird.
Right, I've watched the movie 5 times already.
Because that's the thing is like I don't have enough. I haven't been on Threads long enough to have like enough people that I follow to just always read my following feed. So I have to go into the For You feed, and then their algorithm is just terrible. But what did you think of Deadpool?
So I would say I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. I mean, there's a lot of fan service. It kind of felt like before it, like I was asking myself the question, like, okay, so Sony or Fox, whatever, has Deadpool, and this is how they'd make a movie. How would Marvel do it if they could use all of their properties and
Mm,
everything else? Like that's exactly kind of what it was. It's now we have a whole nother toy box to play with. In terms of fan service, I mean that's going to get a point bump for me. I mean I've been waiting to see Hugh Jackman in a Wolverine costume for half my lifetime probably, and seeing all the variants were so funny. I mean, there's a bunch of times I laughed out loud, and my dumbass, I kind of saw it a little bit on a whim, like on last
mhm,
Tuesday. I didn't check to see, so I'm sitting in the movie theater. I'm like, why is this shit all blurry? Of course, I sit in a 3D. I forgot, didn't even realize it was 3D. So I popped out, came back in, and 3D wasn't bad. There's enough stuff, especially at the beginning with all the bones and stuff flying apart and the credits and things that 3D was all right, but I wouldn't go
mhm,
see it in 3D if I was anybody else. Just the shade lower drops the tint down a little bit, and anyways, I felt dumb because yeah. But overall, say a lot of fan service. Story was fine. Um, I think it's probably a good little palate cleanser before Captain America. That I'm kind of looking forward to, like a big, more epic Marvel movie. That's something I'm kind of hungry for. But at the end of this, I'm like, it was a Deadpool
mhm.
movie. I didn't feel like that was like the best thing ever. I may watch it again, probably just to pick up maybe some of the other stuff. But again, watching on social media, everyone's picking out every single goddamn Easter egg and everything else like that. It's like, did you know Henry Cavill did his arm thing that he did in Mission Impossible? Like, all right, you're the 12th person to point that out in the last 10 minutes. And it's just, I don't know. That's a probably thing too. Social media is going to drive into the ground
Mhm,
for me. But I'd have to say overall, it was good. I was satisfied with it. I didn't come out like jumping out of the movie
mhm.
theaters. But it was fun to see Chris Evans. The end credits were funny too. Again, like it was funny. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it. I wanted to have the laugh, and it again fan service 100%, and I was absolutely all right with it.
So I saw it opening night because I heard that you have to you should be careful about spoilers. I admittedly I took that as I should be worried about like spoilers for like what's going to the future of the Marvel universe or whatever, but
Yeah.
and that's definitely not what I was being warned about.
We got Thor holding Deadpool crying. Obviously, something's going to happen,
Maybe
right?
maybe although that was a reference to Thor too. Blah blah blah. Blah. Um. So I saw it at 6:30 Thursday night, the night before release. Uh. Super energetic. One of the more memorable, more energetic crowds. Lots of cheering, lots of clapping, lots of laughing, very very loud. Um. And so I came out of it being very hot and cold. The humor, a lot of it really really worked for me, and a lot of the jokes worked for me in that setting where they probably wouldn't have worked in other settings. Which is fine. I've watched my share of bad stand up comics in a room full of people laughing at the jokes that aren't funny. Um, but uh but then the emotional beats and the plot did not resonate with me. I like there were several spots where I'm like, I'm supposed to be feeling something, but this is nothing. Like either because
Just too weird or just too much out there. It's just
well, it
like
was
I
like
don't know.
it's tonal. I think what it is it's tonal whiplash, because like if you isolate
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
if you isolate the scene in the car where Hugh Jackman is talking down Deadpool, like if you isolate that, like that is actually a good monologue by Hugh Jackman, but right before and right after are these like elevated silly sequences, and so it's like I'm not in a headspace to really hear that. And also like he goes from like 0 to 60 in like nothing, like just because of one word that Deadpool said. um I don't know. And there were
Well, him and X-23 too. I mean, that was good, but again, it's just like surrounded by so much
Most yeah,
other
the
just
the scene
goofy
that
stuff.
you're always the wrong guy until you're the right guy. Like that scene should have been the most emotionally impactful scene in the film, the most emotional, like it should have been great. And I was just like, that is nothing. And I was especially upset because I was I don't like Deadpool, but like I was hoping for like this to be Deadpool and Wolverine. I was hoping for like a flashback sequence or something that we get really with, you know, where we really get to spend time on Wolverine, figure out why is this guy the worst Wolverine.
Well, yeah, and he kept saying, "Wait for the third
Right.
act. We'll show the flashback." I'm like, "Come on, where's this
And then
at?"
it just
Like, I
wasn't
thought they
there.
were gonna.
It was just oh I got drunk and then I came home and everybody was dead.
Well, I figured it was going to be like the old man Wolverine, where someone puts it says it's like the Brotherhood, but it's actually the X-Men, and he tears
Right.
through
Right.
everybody and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
I was thinking, yes, I was thinking one, either that he was going to be the one that literally killed, like yeah, they gave him a trigger
Not
scent
that he
or
went to the
something.
bar and he came back and
Yeah,
they're all
like
dead.
it's
I'm like,
so
that's
anticlimactic.
how is that your fault?
And
Yeah.
and then that he and then like he says that he went and killed a bunch of people, but again, we didn't see that. Like I'm not usually the guy that's screaming show don't tell, but like show don't tell here. This is important
Yeah, that's
enough that you should
berserker
show
rage.
it.
Like we haven't.
And
Yeah.
like every Wolverine got all the X-Men. If you any future X-Men story, Wolverine's the only one that survives and he blames himself for the death of the X-Men. Like this is like the most watered down version of any of those. Even Logan, the guy that they're like worshiping, like he is the one X-Men that survived after Xavier killed all the X-Men. Like he has that same baggage. And that even could have worked if you didn't have Paradox at the beginning saying this is the worst Wolverine. Like, I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And then the other thing that has stuck with me,
20 more years.
the other thing that has stuck with me that like bothers me way more than it should is the continuity aspect. Logan took place in 2029. There's self-driving trucks and it's all future-y and stuff in that movie. This movie definitely takes place in 2024 because it says 2018 and then it says 6 years later. And people have explained like it's because the TVA time works differently, or because because Deadpool would know because he can break the fourth wall, or but it's like it doesn't work. There's too many bits of it. We just weren't supposed to remember that Logan takes place in 2029.
Yeah, I think that's
And
pretty much it. They're
and
gonna.
that's disappointing because usually with this kind of thing, it's like there is a real answer to a continuity error like that. They just didn't communicate it well when you have
Feel like it.
have it happen in a movie like this, and it's just no. This is a.
Do you think they may have just cut that? Do you think they may have actually let's go ahead and we'll film an explanation, but it's kind of like I was reading about how She-Hulk was supposed to have a big part in the third act, and
Oh,
she
really?
got cut like completely. Yeah, and then she was talking shit then Tatiana Maslany or whatever, she's had some words about some stuff like that, and I don't know, but I was reading a little celebrity gossip, but yeah, it sounds like she was really supposed to have a big part.
That's too bad because I really liked her. That might have turned things around.
Like everyone's breaking the wall, everyone's talking to the audience. But
they've got to have another 5-minute fight scene between where Wolverine and
Deadpool it's like when are they going to drop her in the void or something, and then like that. Yeah, less on the two. I mean, the fight scenes are okay. I mean, they're just fight scenes, and I mean, I was having more fun like watching Gambit and his staff turn purple and whip around the screen on the wide
scene
shots.
the scene where the leftover people, where the cameos fought the old X-Men villains, was really good. That was definitely a really good fight scene. I will grant that.
Yeah.
Um,
I like Cassandra Nova too. As kind of like the big bad guy. I enjoyed that. I thought she was a good
she was
choice.
interesting. I
I can't think of like who else. I'm trying to think of like, and this would be. I'm trying to think of like a classic Deadpool villain. And this was like Madcap or something like that.
I
But
feel like you could have had. I feel like that character probably should have been a cameo, like that it should have been James McAvoy uh or somebody else. I feel like they should have been. I feel like it was kind of a weird choice for them to have a new character there. But she was pretty good, and the actor that played her, they did a good job.
yeah, I think it's more of just a part of it. Yeah.
But it just sort of, I don't know, it added to the unevenness, and then like the times when you're in Wolverine's head and you're in Deadpool's head, I felt like those could have been like, that's where you could have had like the longer flashback for Wolverine, and it was kind of a missed opportunity. And the
Yeah, at
other
least
thing
build
the
up
other
some of the
thing I will
emotional
say
stuff.
with the cameos, two things with the cameos. First of all, they made a big deal about this is our ending, and they did not get an ending. They won the fight, and then like off camera were teleported back to their worlds that don't exist anymore. Like, so they didn't really get an ending. You could bring them back. Like if they had, I don't know that.
Well, that's what I hear too. They might be doing well, and like obviously, and that's something else. I don't know if you want to talk about with the Doctor Doom replacing everybody. But I heard they're going to make like Battle World, and it's essentially going to be bringing back all of those characters. And I mean, like the thought is that Doom turns everything into his own image, just like Secret Wars. Was it Secret Wars 2 that came out?
Yeah,
A few years ago, 10 years ago.
Well, Secret Wars.
And
We say
and
Secret Wars 2015 is the because Secret Wars
2015.
2
Yeah.
was
Okay. Yeah, that makes
another thing.
yeah following.
Yeah, but yeah.
So that's what it sounds like they're going to eventually do, and then bring back all the Fox Sony verse.
I would not be
So
surprised with that. I would not be surprised at all if that's what happens.
they even talk about the Thor core, and I mean, it sounds like exactly like. Might even get a Savage World though. That'd be
yeah.
I
mean, but on so then I saw it a second time because my wife didn't see it the first time because I was like just running after work to see it, and I wanted to be able to talk to her about it. And again, and it's like it's not that like the spoilers like were like that there's like twists and turns spoilers. Like it's like literally like Elektra is in this one,
cameos.
And that's the spoiler.
Yeah, it's just
like
cameos.
it's the but it leans so heavily on that like it really changes the experience on the second viewing, because it's like okay, yeah, so this is the scene. I literally got up to pee the scene where they introduced everybody. and then like, and on second viewing I was also like, these are kind of unremarkable characters. I mean, I know that Blade is very important to some people. I never saw those movies, so
they're good, but honestly, I thought they just brought him back to one like because he would, him and Ryan Reynolds had beef back in the day, and just because no one thought that he would do well. And again, I guess if you want to talk about the MCU back then, I mean, it was kind of like Blade. Elektra kind of covers the Daredevil, obviously Elektra stuff. It's funny they talked about Punisher getting hacked up or whatever. But I think that wasn't a bad group. I mean, bringing in Channing Tatum with all that, he obviously doesn't belong there. But
I wish that
whatever.
I wish that I liked Channing Tatum's Gambit more, because like I like the idea of a Gambit movie, and it seemed like Channing Tatum, wanted to play that character, and then he finally gets a chance to, and it's just completely lost in an incomprehensible French accent.
Oh, this is so funny. What's that for? Son of I was like, what did he just say? Like, is it going to be like this the whole time? The Gambit.
And like he says that he makes the comment about Wolverine drinking all his liquor, and then he throws the card and breaks the bottle, and I'm like, you just wasted that bottle of liquor. especially since he had a second bottle. But um you know, I'm some people some people
These
worry
little
about wasting food. I'm very much about like not wasting liquor because liquor's expensive. And especially in the void where you um
yeah, that's what I was like. That makes no sense. As he just grabs another
yeah.
bottle.
But I
Oh,
yeah, I
Wolverine.
don't know. I there and
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Like,
there's elements that were interesting. You know, yeah, you're right. Being able to just like bring up the Punisher and just call him the Punisher, and being able to, you know, just talk about Daredevil. I did not like that she was like, no, it's fine that he died. Like it's like what is that? That is a weird moment.
well, so that's like, yeah. So I'm like, is that like some meta joke about you don't like Ben Affleck as your ex-husband, and so you're happy like that? Is that like
Oh,
a
that's
is that
probably
like
what it
another?
was. No, you're probably right.
I'm, yeah, so like that's a thing too, and that's one part of it is it's like this movie. I mean, it like it rewards people like, if you've been along in the joke for
Mhm.
the whole time. If you've seen those movies since the beginning for Marvel, this is kind of like your final payoff. You're gonna understand those inside jokes, and so that's I think watching it a second time, it may be fun to catch the stuff that I miss, but I can't imagine this is going to be like an
Right,
annual
right.
watch for me or
Yeah.
anything like that.
I can't see myself unless I do some kind of big movie watching project. I that has me watching all of the Fox movies or all of the MCU movies or something. I would not I don't see myself voluntarily rewatching this movie, and
I'm definitely not paying for it again directly. I'm not going to spend money
it's like
directly to watch it. It'd be like say if it's like it's on
and
streaming. It's in,
the thing is that like maybe I don't know. Like I had this revelation when we were talking about Dune 2 on the movie roundtable. Maybe I'm not as big a nerd as I think I am. I don't know. Because it's like yeah, you're like the jokes going, you know, if a joke goes over, it's like somebody asked me what movies they needed to watch to see Wolverine or Deadpool and Wolverine. I keep calling it Wolverine and Deadpool because Wolverine should be first. I wanted it to be a Wolverine movie and it was a Deadpool movie, and that's I think ultimately why I had problems with it. But it's like you either need to you like don't need to watch any movies and you just kind of go with it, or you need to watch every movie that's come out in the last 40 years to get all the references. And apparently there's no in between because I had watched most of the stuff and I got most of the references, but some of them didn't. And it also like I heard one reviewer say that it felt like it felt like the jokes about 20th Century Fox were punching up. I definitely felt like that was punching down. I definitely felt like this is Disney like pissing on the grave of the company that they bought out. You know that they had a big they were fighting with for years to get this property, and now they have it, and then they can, you know,
yeah, it's like Disney literally is saving the only good character Sony has from their shitty ass universe. Um, it's like trust me, you don't want to go back there. You don't want to save your friends. Just just enjoy the
yeah,
time in the MCU. And even Deadpool's like, hey, guess what? We got bumped
right,
up to
right,
first class pretty much. And, it's like,
yeah. It's
yeah,
just I don't know. It just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, like because this is supposed to be a swan song and a love letter, and it was it at times it felt like that, and at times it felt like they were making fun of they were calling out and making fun of the old stuff. And there's a world where you can do that right. And I mean I
well,
don't
it's
know
the
how it
multiverse.
works that way, but it's like no matter how you think of it, they're no longer the underdog. You know, Deadpool in the first movie, that was the movie that could never be made. Um and you know the Fox universe always had either they were first it was like we're making these superhero movies at a time when you know when they aren't ubiquitous, you know, and you don't have, and you're not oversaturated with everything, and we kind of, you know, make this mark, and then they're, you know, behind Disney, and then they're the other universe for years and years, and you know, Marvel cancels Fantastic Four, and they say we're not gonna create any new mutant characters until Disney can own Fox. And I don't know, like,
Well, I mean, that was like the biggest what if for such a long time because everyone's like, "Oh man, just what if they didn't sell off
mhm.
that?" And what if, obviously, especially with Spider-Man, because they're like, "Why would you wait so long to bring like Marvel's flagship character into the
Yeah.
the cinematic
I
universe?"
just I
Because
think that
well, they didn't have a lot of foresight.
we had an old episode where you and I disagreed on this, and I think I never posted it because we yelled at each other so much. But like, I kind of like them having multiple Marvel movie universes, and it's interesting, you know, it's interesting to be able to cross things over, and like, I'm not against X-Men and Fantastic Four being introduced into it at this point, but like, at one point we had a Fox universe that was mutants, and you know, so you told this story where the superpowered individuals mostly come from the same origin of the mutant, you know, the mutant gene, and how and what that looks like. Then you had a crossover universe with a bunch of different origins and a bunch of different heroes and all this stuff, and so we could see how that universe works. And then we had the Sony universe where it's like you just have the one superhero, and we get to see movies interpreted how that works. I think those are three. It's more interesting to have three distinct things than to just have one studio.
Everything under the
Yeah, to just
umbrella.
have one
Yeah.
studio making.
Well, the X-Men movies were really good, and well, and that's the thing too. I mean, Sony just dropped the ball on so many movies and just stuff like that. I mean, they honestly probably could have really flourished with that universe and all that stuff if they just didn't put shit out
I
like
liked
Morbius.
Morbius.
Um,
Also, really liked
that makes
Madam
sense.
Web.
That tracks.
It's
You know what? It doesn't surprise me a single bit. And honestly, that's why I was a little bit worried when I saw you initially posted you like Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm like, oh,
yeah. That's I will
oh.
say, in spite of all this criticism, I came out of both my viewings glad that I watched it. Of Deadpool and Wolverine, but no, I liked Madam Web a lot. Madam Web was over the top silly. Well, still, it was a great, you know, it was a great period piece. They played Toxic, they danced to Toxic by Britney Spears. They you know, there's this utter, you know, just utter ridiculousness, and it's definitely set up for like a shared universe of films that is never going to get made, which is kind of lame. But I don't know. I
Galactus is
I
coming
liked
for him.
and I liked Morbius too. I mean, I think that Jared Leto is I understand that people find him problematic, and and he probably is.
I liked him as Joker. I don't know. I mean, I think he's an excellent actor. But yeah, just as a person, obviously. Well, so this goes back to like these motherfuckers been ruining the Jared name for such a long time. We got Subway Jared. We got pedophile
Yeah,
weirdo Jared Leto. I think there's another one out there too that's a piece of
yeah,
shit. But this is at the Gallery of Jewelry. But either
yeah.
way, it's
But, uh, but yeah, yeah, and the third Venom movie looks good too. The
well, it looks like something for sure.
See, the Venom movies, I think are for me what Deadpool is trying to do. Like, they're just like these like madcap, uh, like just madcap humorous. You know, taking the serious property and making it ridiculous and humorous. But Deadpool just
It just feels like these movies should be made for the 90s. Like these would just fit right in the 90s. Like the whole like Elektra vibe, Daredevil back then sort of
I
vibe.
mean,
I'm like,
I liked movies in the 90s. So,
oh, I did too, but that's just like they were just limited by, I think the CGI and maybe some other stuff. But
have you started Batman the Cape Crusader yet? The new animated Amazon?
Ooh, no, I actually just saw that. I was like, oh, that came out recently. I'm going to have to try that out. I'm not, I mean, I saw some of the animations. I'm like, these look
Yeah, the
okay. We'll see
animation I
how it
think takes a
looks on
minute.
screen.
Sort of like with X-Men 92 or X-Men with X-Men 97, it's like 80% the same as the animated series, but it is distinctly different.
Yeah. Little,
And
yeah.
new voice actor for Batman
It's not going to turn me off
most of the
completely, but
time is good, but
yeah, it's
occasionally
kind of.
he'll do a line read that's like a little bit over the top. But still mostly works. I did not like their interpretation of Catwoman.
Well, that's the thing. I saw a picture of Catwoman. I'm like, ooh, that is
Well, they
a
made
interesting
her
choice.
so this Catwoman's dad is Falcone thing appears to be like already being established here.
Is that what we're
Yeah,
going
and
with?
so
Yeah.
her dad is in. It's like her dad is in jail, and she's used to like mansion life or whatever, and she then goes to turns to jewel theft to pay for to pay for the electric bill and stuff, and then she steals people's cats too, which that's sick. That's just very not. Yeah.
Well, we got to remember this universe was before OnlyFans came out, when young ladies like her didn't have an alternate,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
cat
maybe,
burglary and
maybe.
things like that. So,
Yeah, and speaking of that, it does take place in the 1940s, like full blown, which is pretty cool.
oh yeah, so that's
Um,
definitely true. Yeah,
that I liked. I liked the Lady Penguin. She seemed cool, and then there was an episode, uh, like a legit like mystery episode was the second episode, and that one was done really well too. I won't spoil it because it's like spoilerish. It's spoilable,
yeah, I'm
but
gonna, yeah,
definitely if you're a fan of the animated series or fan of Gotham,
yeah. I'll watch a couple
definitely
today.
worth
Might as well
checking
give it a
out.
try.
Brubaker and Greg Rucka are executive producers on it, along with Bruce Timm.
That's what I remember seeing. Yeah, so yeah, honestly, with that, like that's an instant.
Yeah,
Yes.
that. Yeah, well, I like, and it is. So I think it was marketed as like a more mature Batman series, and I would say that it's not. So there's no profanity, and the violence isn't over the top, but it is still kind of dark, and people do get killed. So like it's not so it's probably a step further than, it's not G rated, but I would say it's like,
Well, I think like loss of life that automatically puts it
yeah,
like
yeah. I think
PG-13
it's like
anyways, or you can kind of close
it
to red
it
band it.
it comes up, the rating comes up as TV-14, but like a kid could watch it. It wouldn't be, yeah, I mean, it's not over the top violence or sexual or whatever. Um but it's still, but yeah, but it but it also is like a grown up could watch it too. Like it's kind of, eh, yeah, I've been pretty impressed with the first few episodes, and they're standalone episodes, which is nice too. It's not just a one story chopped up into 10 parts. Um, Amazon's ads suck, but yeah, I'm not the first person to complain about that. It does the thing where it's like it goes 3 seconds into a scene that should have been after the commercial
Oh,
break,
I
and
hate when
then
they
they
cut
put
off
the
like a
break there.
word. Yeah. Honestly, what's kind of funny with that, I was having my kid watch something on that, and those were popping up. And it's like, what is this? I'm like, bruh, we had to take 2 commercial breaks every 30 minutes just to get through like an episode of DuckTales. Like, man, like you don't even know what
Right,
it's
right.
like. This is easy.
Yeah, somebody was complaining
Spoiled
about
brat.
streaming service prices on social media, and like and blah, blah this that and it's like, and then somebody responded, it's like, even if it was this, even if they were, even if streaming services were the same price as cable, with cable you have to watch commercials, like the full commercial breaks, like.
Oh, I get so angry. Like, oh, takes forever. I'm like, how many of these? One of three.
Yeah.
We got 2.5 minutes left. I guess. Yeah, I feel. Yeah, again, I was feeling spoiled. I'm like, I'm just not built for
I
commercials
can do,
anymore.
yeah.
And even back then, it was
I
fun.
actually,
Commercials.
I don't mind commercial breaks because I do like there being a natural break where I can get up, go to the bathroom. But yeah, on streaming services when they time them out poorly, or yeah, like live TV where it is, where it's 8 minutes per half hour, that's just too much.
When I felt bad for him too, I'm like, yeah, I used to have like cool commercials. I mean, it'd be like for shark
Right,
bites and Legos and Crossfire, like fun games. And now it's like, yeah, you want to hear about this kidney medication you can't pronounce, and
Yeah.
guess what? You might have suicidal thoughts. That's wonderful. What suicide, Dad? Nothing. Don't worry. We'll get back to the show here in a minute.
But yeah,
What's next coming out? Obviously, Captain America: Brave New World. I'm trying to think of, and I mean, I heard Superman wrapped. James Gunn said that's going to be coming out next year. Um, oh, what did I see? I think I'm trying to think of what movie is going to be coming out that same time next year, or pretty close to Superman. I think Marvel's coming out with. I can't remember.
well, we got the first half of Wicked coming out in Thanksgiving. That's the next big one for me. Which,
yeah, I saw the trailer for that.
it's like, why do
Interesting.
they have to break it up into two movies? But and Transformers 1 is coming out in the fall as well. That's that looks
I'll be more interested to watch that now, especially since the comics that came out. I do want to go back and watch Beast Wars. I heard that was actually halfway decent.
If you needed a companion piece to Beast Wars, I did a podcast called War and Beast where we recapped every episode.
Yeah, maybe
if you want to hear me make jokes from 2016.
Well, that's right. Actually, I think I sat in on one of those. Oh,
yeah, no, Beast Wars. The first season of Beast Wars is excellent. After that, it goes a little off the rails, and is a little more uneven. But
man, I miss that weird computer animation
those
type
Windows
of cartoon.
95 graphics.
Oh, I just reminisce about Reboot at least a couple of times a year where I'm like, oh, I just need to find that and watch.
It used to be on Netflix. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's streaming now, if anywhere. Yeah.
That'd be one of those shows where I'm like, I'd probably have my son watch it. Like, look how cool this is. And he's like, are you kidding me? Coco Melon has better graphics.
All right. Well, I think we have covered what I wanted to cover. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about? We're at about an hour.
Yeah, and I think that's good. Right. I think we got it all.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone. Here, let me pull up the Patreon.
See you next year.
And thank the patrons real fast. Because I think it's
we want to thank all the new patrons.
Let's see.
I didn't know you had a Patreon.
Patreon.com/KendallCast.
Oh, how'd you like the little kind of like the skinny Juggernaut?
So I didn't notice that he wasn't one other than the joke that that he made, but yeah, okay.
I was hoping they would bring Vinnie Jones back, but
yeah, I didn't notice one way or the other. Yeah, I mean, it was still his helmet. All right, so
I'm the Juggernaut.
Special thanks.
The proposal
to our patrons: Carl Koenig, Edward Sheehan, Ray Walseth, Greg Zinn, Scott, Jordan, Sam, Jared Napolitano, Blake Silkwood, Joe, Ben Hayward, Zach Brasgall, Gary, and William Kafer. I think some of you guys don't pay, but
damn,
that's okay. I still appreciate you.
Doesn't pay to be nice, Kendall. And look at him; he's so nice, just shouting everybody
Really
out.
appreciate it, you guys. The money does go towards paying for this Riverside subscription and some other stuff. But
Yeah, Riverside's pretty cool. Again, we had a little discussion before. I thought I was meeting Kendall at a physical location on a road called Riverside, which is close to me. This is way better.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Until next time, keep reading those comics. This podcast is a production of the KendallCast Podcast Network. You can support the show for just $2 a month at patreon.com/KendallCast or make a direct donation through the PayPal link at kendallcast.ninja. Every little bit helps.